The reason I got into dancing, like its primary purpose for me wasn't to connect with family or to get into my culture because I was like 5 at the time. Um, but it's definitely taken on that purpose, and I'm really grateful it has.
Like a lot of us, I was a first generation American citizen. I was born and raised here. And so my parents, really wanted me to be immersed in my culture in some way or the other, whether it was music or dance, whatever it was. Um, but I mean, I don't remember this. Obviously, I was really young, but my parents tell me that we went to this one like Kuchipudi dance convention when we were younger, and I apparently was really like mesmerized with their dancing. And when I came back home, I like could not stop dancing, dancing, um, whether it was like feeling my arms around or my legs, just like, dancing. And at a point they like got kind of annoyed by it, and they were like, we need to, put her in some dance classes so that she could like dance in a place that's not our apartment living room.
When I was 5, I was a little bit of a crazy kid, and I would just like dance everywhere. And so, like on crosswalks and in parks. And so I think my mom, she was like, okay, let's utilize this talent. And so she put me in Bharatanatyam because, well, Bharatanatyam is a very like South Indian Tamil Nadu thing, which is where we are from. So I think that was her probably thought process. Like, okay, let's put her there.
So they put me in dance classes, and yeah, I never, like second guessed that decision because I loved it like since I was little. And it's kind of been like that one constant like in my life. I've never, been like, oh, like I don't know why I'm doing this.
Bharatanatyam is like an South Indian classical dance. And I've been learning Bharatanatyam since I was 6. So that's a little over 11 years. Yeah.
Even though like the large term for it is Chinese classical dance, there's a bunch of different styles under it, especially from different like, I guess you would call them like minority tribes within Asia. So every year we do a different dance to a different style. For example, sometimes we do like Daizu, which is like a small tribe in China, and then we also do Mongolian dance. And then like very traditional Chinese dance too. The first solo I ever did was a Mongolian dance one. It was a chopstick dance, if that makes sense. Basically, like your tools are your props are chopsticks. Chinese dance has a lot of props. I think there's definitely ones that stand out more, like the fan, whether it be like short or long. And then there's like umbrellas, which are like those like parasol things. And then there's also like really long sleeves, the sleeves that are like 5 feet long and then are attached to your dress essentially. Well, I think I'm part of our like studio's competitive dance team, so we attend like regional, state, and national level competitions. And then the past few years, we've actually started doing pretty well. I think 2 years ago when we went to nationals, we placed like first overall nationally, which was really cool. And something to add on to that is we're usually like the only group that does Chinese dance, especially at a national level. So it was really exciting to see that we are still able to place really well despite being a completely different dance genre.
I think, every classical or Indian classical dancer knows that there's like this milestone. It's like your first solo dance debut.
I mean, every year we do like a couple different group performances and solo. So I've done like 50 plus performances. But the biggest one was my Arangetram, it's a 3-hour solo performance. I did it after my freshman year. So actually, it was pretty cool. I got to go to India, so I did it in India. And we had live orchestra, and we had a lot of family and friends in the audience. And doing it in India just because we wanted my family to see. We have too big of a family in India. And so yeah, we wanted them to be a part of it, and so we did it in India. Yeah.
Once it came time to perform for my Arangetram, it was a lot. Like I had class like every single day for 3 to 4 hours, rehearsals, things like that. So it was definitely a large portion of my life, definitely.
About a year-ish of preparation, And it like slowly builds up, but by the time you get to like the last 3 months, you're doing like 4 to 5 hours of practice a day.
It does take quite a bit of time. And actually through the years, especially to the transition between middle school and high school, a lot of the people I used to dance with just dropped off to move on to focus on academics. But I actually think the amount of time I spend there really motivates me.
I didn't really think of it as, oh, it's a chore. Actually, it's probably the best part of my day. I wouldn't enjoy doing math homework.
A lot of people get Kuchipudi and Bharatanatyam confused a lot just because a lot of aspects are similar. Costumes are similar, footwork and arm work is also similar, but there's also a lot that is different between art forms. And obviously, if you do one of the art forms, you will know that. I would say Kuchipudi is really graceful, and it's very expressive in its movements and in its emotions and what it conveys. First thing you learn in Kuchipudi is something called the Namaskaram, and you do it to show respect to everything, whether it's your teacher, your parents, your audience. And lastly, you touch the ground. You touch the ground because you're asking permission to step all over it. Dance, by dancing you are stepping all over the ground, and by doing the Namaskaram you are touching the ground and saying like, forgive me for stepping all over you, and I hope you can forgive me for that. And so like that's the first thing you learn, and to think that itself can teach you so much about what is important and what should be respected. It says a lot about the art form.
What's cool about Bharatanatyam is it's more of an integration of like drama plus dance or theater plus dance, and it's not like you're speaking, but you do get to see like a lot of emotion in the dance form. So I think it has the ability to maybe move the audience a little bit more.
As a team, we also do some like events sometimes, like we perform at like Chinese New Year's festivals. Every year we have like a cherry blossom showcase. So like events like that really help us to like reach out to the greater community. And then other things that are just like when you're doing a dance, we learn about like the backstory, either about the dance style or like what story we're trying to convey. So I've been able to learn a lot about Chinese culture that way too.
When you start dancing, so I remember like when my teacher, like the way she would go about like the teaching process is she wouldn't just say, okay, now move your hand here and then go like that, because a lot of times like that's not what draws out your emotion. And so we'd actually like spend classes together just like talking about like the tale and like exactly how each character felt. So in Bharatanatyam there's what we call Abhinaya and what we call Nrita. And Abhinaya is like the stories and like the myths and the traditions, and so that was probably like the most immediate connection, and I felt like I learned a lot about like in older Indian stories just by dancing it, and when you dance it you feel more, I don't know, integrated with it, but I think the bigger realization for me was when I did my Arangetram, and it was my first time actually performing to all my family. I think they've grown up with those stories and they've grown up listening to that when they saw maybe a personification of that story, it felt like it was not just connecting to my culture, but connecting with the people who celebrate my culture.
It has, shaped my set of values and able to connect more with people of my culture. I hope to dance, through college, past college, whether it's full-time or part-time. Like I just want to keep dancing for myself.